Hello everybody, and welcome back to another video. I'm gonna record this one, and then I'm gonna go post them, and then I'm gonna get some sleep, because I'm tired. I think Toothless is done freaking out, so maybe we won't hear his meows. I don't know. Maybe he'll decide to be an asshole. Yeah, okay. Today we are reading His Reasons. It's a Todoroki X-Reader fanfic by AshleyH713. We're going to do Season 3, Chapter 11. This is going to be the last video of today. It'll be posted the 11th. Chapter 11, posted on the 11th. I find it funny, so... yeah. Yeah, okay. God, the head's getting too hot. I don't think there's anything else to say, so let's begin. Amari stared out the hospital window with hollowed eyes, hearing the vague noises of the television behind her. The notorious villain, All For One, had been successfully captured, although heroes are still on the lookout for his accomplices? That's the word. Probably not. From the attack. We also have visual from the heartbreaking fight with a shocking revelation from the symbol of peace, All Might. Glancing back, she saw All Might on television, using all his power and turning into a skinny Come on, really? Shiveling? Why does that not sound right? I don't know. Shiveling man in front of the entire world. It certainly was surprising to say the least, realizing that the symbol of peace was really so weak in actuality. It was the talk of the hospital now, Amari hearing various doctors and nurses speak about it. She breathed in a familiar and sickening smell of antiseptic and felt herself grow a bit nauseous. Amari always hated that smell, the smell of her childhood, those terrible memories and flashes of Katsuki's cruel words filling her ears once again. You really think I could be related to someone that weak? I can't wait until you fail so I can show you just how pathetic and useless you've always been. You'll never be a hero. She needed to get out of here quickly, or else she would truly go insane. Looking down at her hands, they were attached to various wires and needles. Amari recalled the dried blood that once covered the surface. Todoroki's blood, Katsuki's blood, Shinso's blood. Even though her body was physically clean, she still felt dirty. Amari squeezed her eyes shut, willing the terrible sensation away. Everything still felt like a terrible, horrendous nightmare. No, she was a hero. She wasn't a villain. Just then the door next to her opened slightly, Amari thinking it was another doctor or nurse checking on her like usual. That was until she heard his voice. How are you feeling, young Bakugo? Widening her eyes slightly, she turned to find the very symbol of peace in front of her. He looked the same as he was on TV, with a skinny, bone-like structure and hollowed-out eyes. So this is what All Might usually looked like? Usually, she would have been freaking out about this kind of thing, admiring All Might since she and her brother were kids. Although after everything that happened, it seemed wrong to celebrate. Sitting up in her bed, Amari groaned at the bullet wound in her shoulder before answering. I'm getting there. Being shot isn't really that fun. I have to make a note of that for later. Her words couldn't help but make the man laugh. Happy to see her in high spirits. From experience, I would have to agree. I'm just glad to see you safe and sound. Your brother and family are very worried about you. Thinking back to her brother, Amari's smile lessened then, recalling the blood on his clothes. Is Katsuki okay? All Might just nodded back before answering. He's alright. Recovery girl fixed him right up. He should be able to return to class tomorrow. Amari let out a sigh of relief then, now wondering something else. Thank you. So did they say when I could leave? I'm pretty sure my mom is probably still freaking out about everything, and since I can't have visitors, I bet it's not helping. She laughed at her own joke, but slowly stopped when All Might didn't share the same expression. He seemed almost sad. I have to talk to you about that, young Bakugo. Oh no. The girl nodded her head in confusion before listening to All Might's next words and feeling her heart drop on her chest entirely, and all at once. That's when the world came crashing down around her in one single, solitary moment. When Todoroki got a call from the hospital telling him he could finally visit Amari, the boy was ecstatic. He had taken Toothless, stop. Hold on. Give me like 20 minutes. It had taken everything within him to not grow crazy with worry, having to just sit at home and wait for the okay. Picking up a bouquet of roses and other various flowers, the boy set off towards the hospital, knowing that Amari would probably be uncomfortable there, given her past. Maybe these would cheer her up a bit. Somehow Todoroki could still feel her shaking and terrified body in his arms. It was a memory that wouldn't go away, no matter how hard he tried. That was exactly why he needed to see her, to quell his own mind. He walked into the hospital before noticing a very familiar outline in front of him. He looked to be yelling at the poor receptionist, demanding her where Amari was. Same old Bakugo. Bakugo. Turning around sharply, Katsuki laid eyes on the boy before groaning. Oh, great. Now he'd have to deal with him. What are you doing here, Icy Hot? Lifting the flowers up as to prove a point, Todoroki replied, I'm here to visit Amari. I assume you are going to do the same. If so, we should go together. Katsuki took one look at the flowers before rolling his eyes. As much as he disliked Todoroki, he couldn't deny that Amari probably missed him. Whatever, just don't get in my way, bastard. Then he just shoved past the boy, bumping his shoulder as he moved by. He would deal with that guy for now, but only because his sister liked him. They reached the room shortly, Todoroki opening the door first while Bakugo stood behind, his hands in his pockets in an irritated fashion. Moving into the room, he found Amari sitting in bed, staring out the window with an... Dude. Just go lay in bed for a second. No. Staring out the window with an readable expression on her face. But when she noticed his presence, he couldn't help but feel his heart skip at her lip as her lips curled into one of... Jesus, come on. Really? You couldn't give me the ability to speak for once? Just once. He couldn't help but feel his heart skip a beat as her lips curled up into a small smile. How he missed her. Shoto, it's nice to see you. Todoroki took another step closer, showing her the flowers before replying, These are for you. Amari's face lit up at the gesture, carefully gathering them in her arms and smiling back. Oh, they're beautiful. Thank you, Shoto. But you didn't have to do that. Although he only nodded back. Yes, I did. I missed you, Amari. Feeling her face flush, he replied shortly and small. I missed you too. He saw the red hue on her cheeks and felt his own lips start to curve up when Bakugo's voice cut through the air. Annoyance still appeared in his tone. Ugh, can you not do that when I'm standing right here? It's still so fucking disgusting. Blinking in surprise, Amari almost dropped the flowers as Katsuki stomped into space. Katsuki, I didn't know you were here too. Bakugo only scoffed at that. What, would you prefer it to just be that icy hot bastard then? Widening her eyes in concern, Amari shook her head quickly. What? No, of course not. I'm really happy to see you, Katsuki. I guess I just thought you wouldn't come. Katsuki narrowed his eyes in concern at her words. Why wouldn't I? If you thought I wouldn't check on my dumbass sister, then you really have a screw loose in your brain. Amari took in his words for a moment before smiling under her breath. Yes, his words were rather rough, but somewhere she knew they came from a place of love. Well, thank you. I'm so happy to see you too. Hospitals are just as fun as I remember them to be. It's nice to see some familiar faces. Well, besides All Might. The boy's face grew surprised then, Todoroki turning his brow in confusion. All Might was here? Why? I thought you couldn't have visitors. She grew silent for a moment before shrugging her shoulders. Apparently, when you're the number one hero, you can do anything. It wasn't anything, really. He just wanted to see how I was doing. Just then, her eyes flashed towards the TV screen, zoning out a bit at the words. Heroes are still on the lookout for the mysterious female villain that revealed herself last night. We pray that they are able to identify and detain her quickly, for the sake of the world. Her eyes saddened at the words, causing Bakugo to grab the remote next to him and shut off the lies. Those people didn't know what they were talking about. Don't listen to those extras. They aren't worth your time. Amari nodded her head once as Todoroki quickly tried to change the subject, knowing that she was still upset by everything. What did the doctor say? Do you know when you'll be discharged? Then the two who watched her pause for a moment as her face lost a bit of life before snapping back to normal a second later. That was odd. Yeah, they said I should be all ready to go by next week. It's just this stupid bullet wound that's keeping me here. They say it's infected. Guess that's what happens when you don't treat it right away. Then she groaned to herself, leaning forward and whining. All I want is to eat normal food again. I'm so over this hospital food. It hasn't gotten any better since I was a kid, let me tell you. Noticing her childlike nature return, Todoroki felt slightly relieved. I could bring you something if you'd like. Her face lit up then, leaning towards him in excitement. Wait, really? That's okay. I couldn't ask that of you. Besides, the doctors would probably stop you anyways. I am supposed to be on a strict diet. Knowing she was probably right, Todoroki came up with something else. Alright, how about after your discharge, I can take you out and we can get something then. He expected her to jump for joy or be excited, but about his offer, but instead it seemed to get something. He got something else entirely. She looked sad. Yeah, that would be nice. Narrowing his eyes in confusion, Todoroki felt something off about her response, now placing a hand to her upper thigh in concern. Amari, are you right? Is something wrong? Mari's eyes flashed to the floor, then opening her mouth for a moment as if to say something before locking her gaze with Katsuki and shutting it right after. Then she slapped Todoroki on the shoulder before laughing and smiling, a smile now plastered on her face. What? No, of course not. I'm perfectly okay. You two need to stop worrying so much about everything. Toothless. Her stance turned to one of exhaustion, then letting out a loud and heavy yawn. I'm sorry, boys, but I feel kind of tired from the medicine they gave me. Do you mind if I take a nap? Toothless. Dude, come on. You got put in here because Mom don't want you in the living room. I would let you out, but Mom don't want you in the living room. You can't be in the living room. They're fixing it up. Yeah, you can't be in the living room. So you gotta stay in here with me. Okay. Todoroki still felt an uneasiness in his chest, but let it go for now, knowing that they could talk about all this later. Of course, just focus on getting better, okay? Standing from the chair, Mari nodded as Bakugo followed in suit. Don't you dare even think about getting up either. You need to get back to school soon, or else that damn Deku will be whining forever. She couldn't help but smile at that as Todoroki leaned forward and pressed a soft kiss under her forehead before whispering, Don't hesitate to call me. Mari was about to open her mouth when Bakugo grabbed Todoroki by the collar, pulling him outside roughly. Alright, lover boy. Get off my damn sister and get out already. Laughing at their interaction, Todoroki let the boy drag him away, putting a hand up to the girl shortly. See you. She mimicked the action, and before she could blink, the boy was gone from her sight, only leaving silence. The boys were gone from her sight, only leaving silence. Then once she realized they were truly gone, Amari's carefree smile began to drop slowly as she let out a shaky breath, now placing her head into her hands roughly. Todoroki was walking home when he couldn't help but still have that sickening sensation in the back of his throat. There was something off about their conversation with Amari in the hospital. He just didn't know what it was. Dude. Toothless. Stop digging at the bottom of my door. That's why it's broken. No, it doesn't let you out. You haven't learned that by now? That's not how you get out. He's just staring at the doorknob. There was something off about their conversation with Amari in the hospital. He just didn't know what it was. He moved a couple more steps before feeling his body stop on its own. Toothless. No, he couldn't do this. It seemed like something was really bothering her, and he needed to find out what it was. Moving quickly back towards the hospital, Todoroki practically ran up the stairs before reaching her door once more and throwing open the object roughly. Todoroki opened his mouth to greet her when he found something that made his heart hammer in his chest. Oh no. In absolute and complete fear. Amari wasn't there. Trying to rationalize the situation, the boy began to tear through the room, calling out to her as his voice began to shake. Amari, please answer me. Although it was no use, the room was completely empty. Todoroki ran a couple fingers through his hair before breathing out a shaky breath. No, this couldn't be. She was right there in front of them. He couldn't lose her again. The room began to spin around as he caught sight of her phone, laying on her bed silently. He couldn't do this to himself. He needed help. Picking up the surface, Todoroki flipped the object open before going through the contacts and pressing a button. The voice on the other end sounded annoyed. What do you want now? Todoroki's voice answered then, making the boy on the other end of the line freeze with fear. Bakugo, it's me. She's gone. I don't know what happened, but Amari's gone. A loud rustle could be heard on the other line, sounding like Bakugo was running as he replied. What? No. What the fuck does that mean? We just saw her. Shaking his head back, Todoroki answered, I don't know. Just get to the hospital. We need to find her now. Bakugo seemed annoyed by that, already heading out the door. You don't think I know that, dumbass? Screw you. Don't move. The line went dead then, Todoroki closing the phone before feeling his own breath shallow. Like, what was even happening? He knew something was wrong with her. He should have asked her about it again. He should have pushed her to respond. He should have done anything. A couple minutes later, Todoroki heard... Toes! Stop. Get up here. Hop up. Come on. Hop up. Come on. Come on. Come on. Okay, get under the chair. By the way, get away from the door. Dude, then hop up here. No, I'm not letting you out. A couple minutes later, Todoroki heard Bakugo burst into the room, now looking more frantic than ever. Alright, you better tell me what the fuck is going on. Shaking his head, the boy replied, I don't know. I knew there was something off about her today, but I should have pushed more. I haven't told anyone yet, but as we don't want to start a mass panic again. Amari doesn't need any more news about her right now. Nodding his head, Bakugo pointed roughly towards the receptionist. And these extras don't know anything. Hell, they said that she hasn't even spoken to them once she got here. That's usual for her. Usually I can't get the brat to shut up. That's unusual for her. I usually can't get the brat to shut up. The two scanned the room, then Todoroki throwing her sheets off her bed. There has to be something that can help us. She can't just be gone. That's when Todoroki noticed a single card on her bedside table, now hearing Bakugo shout, I swear to God, if that bastard took her again, I will. But the boy just shushed him, picking up the piece of paper. You're not helping. Look, it's from All Might. Didn't she say he visited her before? Maybe he would know something. Katsuki took in an insult for a moment before completely ignoring it, now taking the card out of the boy's hands. Well, what the fuck are we waiting for? Let's go! Nodding his head, Todoroki agreed, now running with Amari's brother, fear and worry both etched in their stomachs. They reached the school in record time, throwing the door off the teacher's office opening and seeing All Might smile at the boys. Oh, what a lovely surprise, if it isn't young Bakugo and young Todoroki. How are you boys? Although the two were not in the mood for small talk, Bakugo slamming his hand on the desk next to him. What the fuck happened to my sister? Of course, the hero was confused by this. What do you mean, boy? That just kind of sounds like an insult. What do you mean, boy? No, never mind. Young Bakugo was still in the hospital. I visited her just a couple hours ago. This time, it was Todoroki who spoke, low and serious. Did she seem worried? Please, All Might, this is important. We visited her as well, and she seemed different. All Might took in his words before letting his face fall, now fully realizing why they were here. Of course she would be rather upset about everything. Seemed she really was just putting on a brave face. Narrowing their eyes in confusion, Bakugo replied, What the fuck does that mean? What do you mean, everything? The man took a step forward, then seemingly more sullen. Never mind, I can't. There is something you need to hear from her. It's not something I should be telling you boys. Suddenly a loud shout echoed through the room, stopping all the teachers in their tracks, although it wasn't Bakugo that was yelling, it was Todoroki. We don't have time for that! Tell me, what did you say to her? All Might blinked in surprise at the boy's aggression before sighing in defeat. Alright, I understand your concern. Then he leaned forward. I feel partly responsible for the way things played out. If I had noticed just how much young Bakugo was suffering, then maybe I could have stopped those terrible events from occurring. Her pills have no Mu blood in them. I never even realized. Crossing his hands, the hero continued. We did some tests, and it's just too dangerous to continue using the pills, so I told young Bakugo that we would have to dispose of them immediately. The boy supposed that made sense, knowing just how terrible the effects were on her body, but that brought another question up in Todoroki's mind. What will happen once she stops using them? All Might smiled bitterly at that. You and her asked the same thing. Once she stops using the pills, then the effects of the drug will slowly fade out as well, reverting back to her original body. The words pounded in the boys all at once, knowing fully well what he was saying. Todoroki's voice coming out small and scared for her, so she's basically quirkless again. The man nodded his head, and Bakugo felt like he was going to be sick. Mari was going to be back to being weak and fragile. She was going to be quirkless. No, he couldn't handle that reality. A hot, fiery rage entered Todoroki's stomach then, realizing why she was so strange today. She was probably destroyed. Do you even realize what you just told her? Her quirk is everything to her. Looking away, All Might answered, I know, and it's unfortunate. That's why I also told her I was dropping her from the hero course. This time it was Bakugo's turn to shout back. You did what? You can't do that. That brat gave everything to be in the hero course. You can't just fucking kick her out like she's nothing. Although the man tried to stay level-headed. I understand your devastation, but without a quirk, young Bakugo simply can't stay at UA anymore. It would be too dangerous for her. Even though it made sense logically, Todoroki and Bakugo were furious. All Amari wanted to do was help people, be a hero. And they were just kicking her out like that? Narrowing his eyes in concern, Todoroki whispered to himself, "No, it can't be." Katsuki paced back and forth at the reveal before kicking the desk next to him in utter anger. "This is fucking ridiculous. Amari is way more of a hero than you will ever be. At least she doesn't fucking give up on people." Turning his brow, All Might replied, "I'm not giving up on her. In fact, I'm trying to do everything in my power, but the problem is, the world sees Bakugo as a threat now, whether we like it or not. She did aid in the attack, so the heroes have to decide whether to detain her or not." Detain? As in prison? They were deciding if Amari was a villain or not? The idea itself was utterly ridiculous. First, she had to find out she was going to be quirkless. Then she found out she was dropped from the hero course. And now she was probably going to be imprisoned? The reality was far too much for anyone to bear. What was she even thinking right now? Katsuki didn't seem to enjoy this either, instead grabbing All Might by his slim shoulder and lifting him up into the air. Hold on a minute. My sister isn't a goddamn villain. She didn't want to hurt us, but that asshole made her. You can't treat her like she's some kind of criminal." All Might's eyes saddened then, placing his hand on her brother's. "I know. I don't want that either. I'm fighting with everything I can to get Bakugo freed. But it's not up to me. We just have to wait and then live with the decision it's given." He didn't seem to like that response, though, throwing the man back into his chair. "Fuck you. I'm not letting her be painted as a villain, no matter what anyone says." Bakugo was on a tangent, which was justified, but Todoroki knew that was not where they should be focusing their power right now. "Bakugo, forget it. We need to find her now. I can't imagine what's going on in her mind right now. We need to be there for her." Widening his eyes, Katsuki realized what he was saying, now stepping away from All Might before nodding. As much as he hated that bastard, he was right. He knew just how proud she was of her quirk. How devastated was she right now? Running around the entire city, Bakugo and Todoroki looked around for Amari everywhere, but with no luck. It was really like she just disappeared. They debated telling others, but they couldn't risk the news finding out about this. They were already spreading such lies about her. Who knows what kind of panic it could cause? The sun was beginning to set as Todoroki turned frantically towards Bakugo, wiping a bit of sweat from his forehead. Where could she be? Katsuki scoffed in anger before kicking the nearest street sign. "That brat is good at hiding, I'll give you that." Trying to rack his brain, Todoroki thought of every possible place she could be, but it was pointless. Amari wasn't anywhere. He ran a couple fingers for his hair, ready to give up, when a sudden idea popped into his mind. No. She couldn't be. Then before Katsuki could process it, he saw Todoroki running down the opposite direction. "Hey, where are you going, you bastard? You better not be giving up." Although the boy only responded shortly, gesturing to Katsuki. "I know where she is." Widening his eyes, Bakugo quickly followed the boy a couple minutes down the road until they reached a set of apartments, the boy not understanding. Why the hell would she be here? Todoroki touched the railing before moving towards the steps. It was kind of sad that Bakugo didn't know this was this place. This is her old apartment. He reached her old unit before quickly noticing the door was ajar and slightly cracked, although there was no light seeping from under the door. The boys shared a look before Todoroki creaked open the door and stepped inside, the thick and sickening scent of alcohol around the area causing Bakugo to cringe. What the hell? Although they stopped when a small noise in the corner echoed through the darkness, Todoroki now moving closer to it and whispering, "Amari?" Turning the corner, the boys couldn't help but freeze at the sight before them. Sitting on the floor a couple feet away was Amari, with 5 or 6 empty bottles of alcohol around her in a circle. Her body was scrunched together in a tiny ball with her head down, not noticing them. As his breath hitched in his throat, Todoroki kneeled down towards her, touching the girl's arm carefully. "Amari, are you okay?" His voice caused her to look up, dazed. He could see the tear stains on her cheek as she suddenly leaped into his arms, slurring her speech. "Shoto, you're here." Eyeing her sadly, Todoroki patted her head. "Of course I am. What are you doing? I already told you not to drink like this." She grumbled against his chest as Bakugo took in the boy's words, now completely concerned. "What the hell are you saying? Amari doesn't drink." But Todoroki only sighed as she lifted her head up, playing it with the features on his face. "You're so pretty, Shoto. It makes me want to kiss you so that all the bad things can go away." Then he watched as she hoisted herself up, humming happily as the girl leaned forward, fully ready to kiss him, although Todoroki pushed her back, knowing fully well that her brother was watching. "Amari, stop. We have to take you back." Her eyes crumbled then, her voice cracking ever so slightly. "But I don't want to go back, ever. Don't make me, Shoto, please. I don't want to be a nobody again. I'm just going to stay here forever, okay?" Then she laughed to herself before reaching for another bottle. "It's funny, right? I really was just wasting my time. Katsuki was right after all. I'm just a big fucking disappointment. God, I'm crying again. Just like I've always been." Todoroki raced forward and grabbed the bottle before she could take it, causing her to put a sloppy finger to his lips. "But don't tell Katsuki, okay? It'll be our little secret." His eyes flashed to Bakugo, who was just watching all this in shock. It was obvious Amari didn't know he was here. Also, looks like he would have to fix that. Hey, what are you even saying? At the sound of his voice, Amari's eyes widened, dropping the bottle in her hand before locking eyes with her brother. No. Then in a single motion, she covered her face with her hands, backing into a corner to hide herself from Bakugo. Is he gone? Tell him to go away, Shoto. I can't see him. Katsuki narrowed his eyes in confusion, stepping forward. What are you, 5? I'm still here. You can't just hide from me, Amari. Shaking her head back and forth, Amari replied, No, I don't want to. Sighing exasperation, Bakugo tried to forcibly remove her hands then, much to her protest. Come here, brat. Stop moving so much and look at me already. Although she only pulled back. No, you can't. He was able to grasp one hand and force it away as she huffed back. And why the hell not? Locking eyes with her brother, Amari then shouted back roughly and broken, Because I'm not worthy of it! Freezing for a moment, Katsuki took in his sister's tear-stained face, and even more tears started to appear. I don't even have a quirk anymore, so how could I make you proud of me now? I ruined everything. Bakugo took in the words as a heavy ball rose in his throat. What was she even saying? Just because she didn't have a quirk didn't mean that she wasn't still a sister. His voice came back small and afraid. What are you even saying? Slapping his chest, Amari replied, I was finally strong enough to be your sister, to make it so you weren't ashamed of me to others. But now, what do I have? Nothing. I'm nothing. Just like I've always been. Amari curled her fingers around his shirt then, crying out broken tears as Bakugo's hands began to shake. Her having a quirk wasn't the only reason he was proud of her. In fact, it was his own fear and shame that caused him to pull away. Wait, is that what you thought? He didn't get an answer, though, just crying in his chest, causing the boy's voice to crack as well. You got it all wrong, stupid. All this time you thought you had to be strong enough for me? How long have you been thinking that? Once again, he didn't get a response, causing Bakugo to turn his head to Todoroki. He needed to know how badly he hurt her with his own stupid words. Hey, since when has she been like this? Glancing towards the floor for a moment, he replied, She's always been like this. You just never see it because she tries more than anything to be strong for you. She's afraid you'll reject her. Widening his eyes in horror, Bakugo looked down at his broken sister, his vision now getting blurred from his own tears. All this time, that bastard had seen every part of her life while she felt like she had to be strong for her own brother. As if I could ever do that. Then Katsuki covered his shaking body with hers, letting his arms wrap around her body as he spoke small. He fully understood now he had broken her. I'm sorry, this is all my fault. I'm sorry, I fucked up so bad. You're not weak. You've never been weak. I just say those things because I got pissed off and so damn scared that you're going to get hurt, and I won't be able to stop it. Clutching onto her brother's shirt for dear life, Amari muttered back, I'm sorry, I don't deserve to be your sister. This caused Bakugo's heart to break. Holding on to her tighter before shaking his head, the tears pouring on his face now. No, you idiot, you don't get it. All this time, you got it backwards. I don't deserve to be your brother. They held each other for what seemed like forever, before he felt Amari's soft breath on his neck, indicating that she had fallen asleep. Letting out a shaky breath, he turned to Todoroki, who had decided to sit on the floor next to them, just watching silently. He knew Amari probably wouldn't remember the words she said tonight, but Bakugo sure would. Moving towards the girl, Todoroki went to pick her up when Bakugo slapped his hand away. Don't touch her, icy hot. I'll do it. He moved his hand back as Katsuki carefully gathered his sister in his arms before looking at her sadly. I don't know how to be the brother she wants, but I'm not going to turn a blind eye anymore. I'll protect her this time. I have to. Nodding his head in acceptance, Katsuki started to move towards the door before he paused for a moment and turned to Todoroki. And icy hot? Then locking eyes with Bakugo, the boy made an expression never before seen by Todoroki. He looked devastated as the dry tear stains glimmered on his cheeks. Thanks for looking out for her when I wasn't. I suppose that brat was right to trust you. Check her out. She's gonna write her. She can bring me to tears. Yeah. Jeez. Fuck, man. Amari's... I feel bad. Man, like, I get it. It's a fictional character, but damn! Shit, man. It's sad. Yeah, I will record more videos tomorrow. You will hear me in the next one. Bye-bye.